And so when you just gave that analogy of like, okay, you have all this earth and you want to go and move it, you can't do it all at one time. And so to think, oh my God, I got to do all of this at one time, that's like eating a giant meal, like really, really fast. And then until you like are completely bloated and you're going to throw up. So it's like one step at a time, one bite at a time. And that's what the yi is it's like, I'm going to do this one thing today. Check. I'm going to do this other small step today. Check. And so it's like the taking of the earth and bringing it over and then dumping it down. And then another wheelbarrow goes over and dumps it down. And it's that consistency, right? And I would really say that, you know, when we talk about yi, we're talking also about intention. And intention can be thought of kind of like a goal, but it's more like constancy. So yeah, I can set that boundary once, but I actually have to keep doing it until it becomes a pattern. And that's what the yi is doing, is it's this constancy. I'm setting the intention and then I'm actually following through, because the heart knows what its boundary is, but the yi is actually going to be the follow through. Again, it's where the rubber meets the road.
Oh yeah. Okay, so when we're in this, you know, we're here, probably technically we're moving past like the real peak of that late summer. We're really in that transition of entering into the autumn realms here. But you can still feel, it's obviously the longest transition point between that peak summer and then the middle. So when you're in it, whether it's a time of day or time of year, what are in order to make that innate, that wheelbarrow, in order to actually land in that space, practices, and like temperament awareness?
Yeah, I think it's that, when you think of late summer, there's like the gardens, and I don't know what it's like in Australia, but like up here in North America, it's like the gardens are really full. Like the fruit is like heavy. It's like hanging off the trees, right? And there's this like abundance. So oftentimes when we're in this spleeny kind of time, it can feel like the emotion is like I'm full or I'm overwhelmed, and can feel like that theme that we're just talking about, or like, oh my gosh, there's so much all at once, I don't know where to start. So that's like on a spirit level, that can look like something as simple as writing a to-do list. Like, okay, like you have these dreams and visions, you have these ideas, but how are you going to execute? So like writing a to-do list is a really great yi thing to do. And like, don't write down a big thing, write down a small thing. So it's not like on your to-do list, you're like, write book or start company. That's not an actionable item. It's like, make it super small. Like, I'm going to call that contact who has another contact for that business, call that I can get on. So it's those little tiny steps. And then another thing is that when you do the step, is to celebrate it, like to check it off and be like, I did that. Because if you don't have that moment where you're like, I did that, then you never really put your feet on the ground. Mm-hmm. When you say, check, I did that, it's reminding those spirits there has been a follow through. So it's kind of like when you harvest from the garden and you bring all of your food in and you set it out on the table, you say like a blessing. You're like, wow. And you're taking a moment to actually be nourished by yourself, to be nourished by the follow through. And that's also about like, it can be overwhelming in this season, but it can also be really bounteous and very, joyous. Mm-hmm. So it's a moment also to celebrate that. So my teacher, my Qigong teacher always says, when you do your yi to-do list, check it off, celebrate that you did that, like really be like, wow, I did that, before moving on to the next thing. Because if you're just like next thing, that's like also going to keep your system feeling really overwhelmed.